US President Donald Trump warned Europe illegal migration was destroying European heritage in a long-ranging speech delivered at the UN General Assembly. The European Commission is calling for a drone defence wall along the EU's eastern flank after several drones shuttered Copenhagen airport for several hours. A new report claims US President Donald Trump is seeking to impose his political agenda and views on his European allies. Israel shutters the Allenby border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan from Wednesday, the sole land route Palestinians in the West Bank can use to travel abroad. US President Donald Trump warned Europe migration was destroying their countries, said he solved 7 wars worldwide, and suggested he win a Nobel Peace Prize in a long, winding speech delivered at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. We've collected some of the highlights here.
I'm the President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage.
Trump also claimed he solved 7 long-time wars across the globe.
Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. Not mentioning names, I see it, and I can call.
Elsewhere, he suggested he should win the Nobel Peace Prize.
By a force of illegal aliens, like everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. Stay this way, every sovereign nation.
But he saved some of his harshest criticism for the United Nations itself.
As we do now, and to limit the... Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. This was a humanitarian act for all involved because...
The European Commission is calling for a drone defence wall along the EU's eastern flank after several drones shuttered Copenhagen airport for several hours.
But still, for those who still doubted the need to have a drone wall in the European Union, well, here we get another example of how important it is. The latest attacks in Romania, in Poland, in Estonia, now in Denmark, 4 member states have been targeted. And this is precisely why we will be working on this drone wall. As mentioned by Anita, Commissioner Kubilius will meet with the 7 frontline member states. I named them yesterday. Here we go again. Estonia, Latvia, Finland, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria. And I can now add to that list also Denmark, of course, on top of Ukraine.
Many thanks. Carl.
Danish leader Mette Frederiksen called the drone incident the most serious attack yet on the country's critical infrastructure and said Russian involvement could not yet be ruled out. The Commission says the drone defence project, first outlined by Ursula von der Leyen, will unite 8 countries, including Denmark, Poland, Romania and the Baltic states, to detect and respond to aerial incursions. Recent months have seen Russian assets violate the airspace of Poland, Romania and Estonia. EU officials say the incidents show Moscow is testing the boundaries of European borders and prove the bloc cannot hesitate to act in the face of Russian aggression. A skilled drone pilot flew 2 to 3 large unidentified drones over Copenhagen airport on Monday night, shuttering airspace. Authorities said there were no signs the drone pilot intended to cause harm, yet didn't rule out the possibility that the incident was part of a Russian hybrid attack. Another drone incident the same evening also forced all traffic to move to one runway in Norway's capital, Oslo.
Det er nu, venner.
Jeg mistænker du Rusland for at stå bag?
Jeg kan i hvert fald ikke afvise på nogen som helst måde, at det er Rusland. Altså, vi har set droner ind over Polen, som ikke skulle have været der. Vi har set aktivitet i Rumænien. Vi har set krænkelser af det estiske luftrum. Vi har set hackerangreb på europæiske lufthavne her hen over weekenden. Nu har der været droner i Danmark, og der ser ud til, at der har været droner i Oslo og i Norge også. Så derfor kan jeg ikke sige andet, end at det her er i mine øjne et alvorligt angreb på dansk kritisk infrastruktur.
Flights at both airports resumed early Tuesday, though with delays and cancellations.
Det er, synes jeg, ekstremt alvorligt, når man lukker en international lufthavn ned i næsten 4 timer. Det er vores kritiske infrastruktur her. Det påvirker rigtig mange borgere, og derfor kalder jeg det, jeg gør. Jeg synes, det er en meget, meget alvorlig situation. Og det er derfor, vi nu supplerer også med PET her ved min side, fordi det her har jo også en karakter af noget, der spiller over i forhold til det, som vi ser.
Officials said they would look into whether the incidents in Norway and Denmark were connected. An EU official said the pattern of the incident fits similar ones in Poland and Estonia, where Russia carried out what they described as reckless actions over other countries' airspace. Moscow has denied involvement in the incidents.
U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking to impose his agenda and political program on Europeans. This is what a report published by the European Council on Foreign Relations concluded on Tuesday. Trade tensions, the military defense of the old continent, and the White House's support for far-right groups are all factors that are prompting EU leaders to react rather than set their own agenda. To this analyst, this is an admission of weakness on the 27-member bloc's part.
I think that, of course, it's European leaders, governments, institutions who have given plenty of room to be humiliated, whether it concerns the tariff war with the US or the NATO summit and the question of boosting spending on defense, or the way in which European leaders are treated in peace negotiations concerning Ukraine, where they basically need to knock on the door so that anyone listens to them. Otherwise, they are not in the room.
European sentiment remains strong despite the political blows dealt by Trump. According to the latest data, public confidence in the EU is at its highest level since 2007, and expectations seem to have also evolved.
In many places where people used to consider EU mostly as an economic being, as a trading bloc, as a market, they started realizing that Europe has an important role in terms of geopolitics, relations with other global powers, but also in terms of a defense of democratic values that are in danger both externally and internally in Europe.
According to the report's author, Trump has several relays in Europe. The leaders of Hungary, Italy, and Slovakia have made no secret that they're ideologically, and maybe even personally, aligned with the 47th U.S. president.
Israel shuttered the Allenby border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan from Wednesday, the only land route Palestinians in the West Bank can use to travel abroad. Officials on both sides confirmed the shutdown but gave no reason for the closure. The crossing will remain closed until further notice. The move comes just days after a Jordanian truck driver killed 2 Israeli soldiers in a gun and knife attack. The crossing had only recently reopened to passenger traffic. Known in Jordan as the King Hussein Bridge, the Allenby crossing is also the main route for commercial goods between Jordan and the West Bank. Its closure is expected to have a major impact on both Palestinians and trade flows in the region.